Somewhere around 50,000 years ago, a human being looked at something shiny, looked at another human being, and thought, I wonder if I can convince them this is worth more than it actually is. And they tried it, and it worked. And in that moment, the scam was born. And everything that came after money, law, contracts, banks, fraud, investigation, all of it traces back to that one dishonest transaction at the dawn of human trade. But to understand the first scam, we need to understand what made it possible. And that starts with trade. Humans are the only animal that trades with strangers. A chimpanzee will share food with members of its own group, but it will not trade with a stranger from another group for mutual benefit. Humans figured out that a stranger with something you need is not a threat. They are an opportunity. Obsidian volcanic glass, sharper than surgical steel, has been found at sites hundreds of miles from the nearest obsidian source. Shells from coastal regions have been found deep inland. Someone traded them there. Someone valued them enough to carry them across enormous distances. We have evidence of trade networks operating across Africa at least 300,000 years ago. But trade requires something that makes it both powerful and dangerous. Trade requires trust. When you trade, you are trusting that what you receive is what it appears to be. And trust, as every human being alive today knows, can be exploited. So what was the first thing humans scammed each other with? The answer is almost certainly something shiny. Researchers believe our attraction to shiny things is connected to our instinct to find clean water which reflects light and appears shiny. Which means the very first scammer may have exploited an instinct that was originally designed to help us survive. Some of the earliest traded items were not practical at all. Shell beads found in Morocco date back 150,000 years. These were not tools. They were jewelry, status symbols. Status symbols are the perfect scam target because the value of a status symbol is not in the object. The value is in what people believe about the object. If you can make someone believe your common stone is a rare and powerful object, you have performed the world's oldest magic trick. And we have actual archaeological evidence that this happened. Researchers have found ancient trade sites where lower quality materials were mixed with high quality ones. Fraud is older than civilization. Fraud may have helped create civilization. Now, let us talk about what happened after the first scam worked, because the victim eventually... They told everyone. Warning others about bad traders is one of the oldest and most powerful forms of social information humans share, and the scammer, once identified, faced something worse than punishment. They faced a destroyed reputation. In a small prehistoric community of 50 people, everyone knowing you are a cheat meant nobody would trade with you. Nobody would cooperate with you. Nobody would share food with you during hard times. Reputation was survival. Your reputation was more valuable than anything you could ever scam someone out of. Which is why most people, in most times throughout human history, have been mostly honest. Not because humans are naturally good, but because honesty was the better deal. But here is the problem that emerged as trade networks grew larger. The reputation system only works when everyone knows everyone. In a group of 50, but as trade routes extended to strangers hundreds of miles away, you had no idea who you were dealing with. A traveling trader could scam one group, move on, and scam another group with zero consequences. This is the oldest version of the internet scammer who creates a fake profile and disappears after taking your money. And communities began developing the earliest solutions to this problem. The first was vouching. You trust me, I trust this stranger. Therefore, you can trust this stranger. This is still how most human trust networks operate today. So humans developed the second solution, standardization. If everyone agrees on what genuine obsidian looks like, then fakes become harder to pass off. The oldest known standardized weights date back over 5,000 years to ancient Mesopotamia. Now, let us talk about the most important anti-scam technology ever invented, writing. Here is something most people do not know. The oldest writing we have found is not literature, not history, not philosophy. It is receipts. The oldest known written documents, Sumerian clay tablets from around 3,400 BC record grain deliveries, livestock counts, trade transactions. Writing was invented to prevent disputes, to create a record that both parties agreed to. Every contract you have ever signed, every receipt you have ever kept, every email confirmation of a purchase, all of it is the direct descendant of those Sumerian clay tablets. And here is the beautiful irony. Writing, one of the greatest achievements of human civilization, was not invented for poetry or philosophy or history. It was invented because someone cheated someone on a grain delivery and people were sick of it. Now, the most famous ancient scam. The oldest known written complaint about fraud dates to ancient Mesopotamia around 1750 BC. A merchant named Nasir received payment for copper and delivered copper of significantly inferior quality. The customer, Nanny, wrote a letter of complaint that has survived for nearly 4,000 years. In it, he says, "You have treated me with contempt. The copper you sent was not good. You have to make this right." 4,000 years ago, someone was dealing with a supplier who sent substandard goods and felt entitled to do so. The details have changed. Human nature has not. And Nasir, the merchant who sent the inferior copper, is now one of the most famous fraudsters in history, purely because his victim kept the complaint letters. Now let us zoom out, because the scam story is not just a funny historical footnote. Every law against fraud, every consumer protection regulation, every banking regulation, every contract law, all of it exists because someone figured out how to cheat someone else. And we spent thousands of years building systems to stop it. The price tag on something in a store is an anti-scam technology. The product guarantee is an anti-scam technology. The online review is a direct digital descendant of prehistoric reputation gossip. The bank is an anti-scam technology. Every annoying verification step exists because someone once did that exact thing fraudulently, and enough people suffered that a rule was created to prevent it. Now let us talk about why scams still work. Despite thousands of years of anti-fraud development, despite all the systems, despite all the warnings, because scams do not exploit stupidity. They exploit something much harder to defend against. They exploit hope. Every scam offers something the victim wants to be true. A better deal than seems possible. An opportunity that seems too good. A solution to a problem they desperately need solved. The prehistoric human who saw the shiny stone was not stupid. They were hopeful. They wanted the shiny thing to be as valuable as the trader claimed. And that wanting overrode their skepticism. This is why the best scammers throughout history have not been the most dishonest people. They have been the most charming. And here is the genuinely uncomfortable truth. The people most likely to get scammed are not the least educated or least intelligent. Studies consistently show that confident, successful, experienced people are among the most vulnerable. Because confident people trust their own judgment, and scammers are very good at making your own judgment tell you this is fine. Which brings us to the most important thing this entire history teaches us. Notice when you want something to be true, that wanting that hope is the exact moment your defenses are lowest. The ancient rule of trade, the one every merchant learned, was this. The better the deal sounds, the more suspicious you should be. If something seems too good to be true, it is not a signal that you got lucky. It is a signal that you are being set up. Legitimate opportunities can survive your questions. Legitimate deals get better the more you...
The scammer always needs you to decide now, before you think too much, before you ask too many questions. Urgency is a scam signal. Secrecy is a scam signal. These signals have not changed in 50,000 years, and they still work. The answer the ancient merchants figured out, and that still works today, is not to stop hoping. It is to slow down the hoping. Sleep on it. Ask someone else. Look at it again in the morning. These are not just good advice. They are ancient anti-fraud technologies that have protected humans for thousands of years. Now here is what I find most remarkable about this entire story. The scam, this ancient dishonest act, ended up being one of the engines of human progress. Without the scam, There is no urgency to develop trust systems. Without trust systems, trade stays small and local. Without large-scale trade, civilization as we know it is delayed by thousands of years. The dishonest few force the honest many to build better systems, and those better systems benefited everyone. The story of the scam is the story of trust, of what happens when trust is extended to strangers, of how we built systems to make trust safer, and of how those systems, imperfect as they are, made it possible for 8 billion humans to trade with each other across the entire planet. Nasir thought he got away with it. He did not. 4,000 years later, his name is still attached to his fraud. History does not always deliver justice immediately, but it keeps receipts, and so do you. Your phone keeps receipts. Your email keeps receipts. Your bank keeps receipts. Every transaction you make is documented in a way that would have seemed like magic to Nani. The first scam happened before writing, before agriculture, before cities, before everything we call civilization. And the last scam has not happened yet. It will happen today, tomorrow, next year, in forms we have not seen before, using technologies that do not yet exist. But the psychology behind it will be identical. Find what someone hopes for. Make them believe you can provide it. Create urgency before they think too clearly. And collect before they figure it out. We are the only species that trades, the only species that scams, and the only species that builds elaborate systems to protect against being scammed. All three are part of the same story. The first scam was not the end of trust. It was the beginning of the long human project of figuring out how to trust each other better. And that project is still going. It will never be finished. Because wherever humans are, with their hope and their cleverness and their capacity for both generosity and deception, there will be shiny stones. And the same question that has faced every human who ever picked up a shiny stone, is still the same. Is this real? And is it worth it? Pause and find out.